Previously on X-Men, Magneto totally defeated the team. Beast is still in jail, and Sabretooth has been adopted by the X-Men, which I'm sure is going to go over well.
Yep.
What happens next? Do they stop Magneto? We'll find out right now. Welcome back to the Untitled Xcast.
Hey y'all, Jason here, just jumping in to let you know we actually do have a title now. We are called the Uncanny Xcast. Here's our new logo. It was done by the awesome Gill Rivera from the Animation Cave. I'll post his YouTube channel down below. He does some really cool deep dives on some cool comics and animations. One I really like was the Space Ghost episode he did. So check him out, and yeah, hope you all enjoy the episode. Bye.
I'm your host, Wes, and these are my co-hosts, Jason and John. Hey guys, how are y'all?
Doing well.
Hey.
Doing well. This is quite an episode. I can't wait to talk about it. But yeah, man, it's just Texas heat is a little warm in my office. Otherwise, doing fantastic.
A little sizzly?
Little bit. 100 degrees.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a little bit.
What's 102?
Yeah. A spring day. Yeah, and John, you added insulation.
I almost passed out in my attic doing the insulation. I almost passed out in the backyard doing a foundation for the shed.
John, you need to, dude.
Can't take it anymore.
You have been adulting pretty hard, my guy.
Let's just move to Montana. It's cool there, right? It's cool in Montana, right?
I think the whole country is melting right now.
Probably.
Yeah, everything's on fire.
Everything is on fire, yes.
Actually, yeah, there was a wildfire like a few blocks from here. I didn't tell you.
Oh, really?
But there was a little fire. Some kids, they had set off this artillery shell, and they ran when it didn't like go off the way that it did, and then just it's nuts.
Stupid. So stupid. Ugh.
Kids.
Yeah. Well, it's good to be reunited, which reminds me of the topic we'll be talking today, and that's episode 4 of the X-Men animated series, Deadly Reunions.
Nice segue.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had mentioned the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants in the last episode, and I just want to bring attention to the fact that they're right here over my left shoulder, and I could have easily just pointed this out, and I did not, so that's on me. But yeah, we're all reunited, and but specifically, the deadly reunion in question is the one belonging to Wolverine and Sabretooth. And right out the gate, I love finding out, because again, John and I, we've watched the show before. We're old hands at this. But Jason, I want to know your thoughts of this opening sequence when Xavier dives into Sabretooth's psyche.
I actually really liked I like the visuals that show Professor X jumping into someone's mind to try and figure out what is happening. It kind of reminds me of the scene from Doctor Strange where is it multiverse where Professor X is trying to get inside Scarlet Witch's mind. Like, I love that kind of visual, the concrete of just blocking stuff off. I really dig that stuff. I did notice that at one point in that kind of, just the different clips we got, not sideshow. Sabretooth was a sideshow attraction at one point. That was interesting. I'd never, again, me being me, only knowing from the movie canon, I don't remember Sabretooth ever being something like a sideshow attraction, or like is it Barnum and Bailey's? Something like a circus act or something, or a circus freak or something like that. So that was interesting to see. Still looks naked to me. He's never not going to look naked. I don't care what y'all say. It's just a Ken doll Sabretooth, naked Ken doll. That's all I see. But yeah, one of my notes is just really interesting visualization of entering minds. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, he was still naked to you even when he was bonded with Xavier?
Oh gosh, was there a scene? Wait, are y'all making fun of me for something that I didn't catch on my view?
He like inceptions into his body inside the
he's
visual.
in a suit,
and
right?
He was like kind of ball with a lab
Yeah,
coat.
it's Xavier with Sabretooth's mutton chops. and they're
I didn't catch
punching the
it.
inner demons away.
Honestly, I didn't catch
Even
that.
as a pen protector too.
I remember seeing that. I remember that. I just remember, like, overall, I was just looking at everything at the time. So, like, just looking at all the clips that I could and then writing those notes down. So I saw that and I remember that. It didn't register to me that was Xavier. I thought that was just a clothed Sabretooth.
Yeah, one thing I love about this, I love the animation. I love the exploration of deeper themes with Sabretooth. I will touch upon later, but exploring those themes without being too on the nose about it, but suggesting that there's more to him than just being this big rage monster, right? Which he is, but there's a reason he is that way. And one thing we talked about last time was how the makers of the show, we believe, were huge fans of the source material because they had a Deadpool and Cannonball cameo in the previous episode. I misspoke and credited the wrong mutant, but in this one, we got a Deadpool cameo. Yep. And again, that's Rob Liefeld. My buddy Gill Rivera is a huge Rob Liefeld fan. So I'm sure if he rewatches this along with us, he'll be excited at another Rob Liefeld reference.
I didn't. And
I rewatched it and I was like, "I'll be Deadpool does make an appearance."
Does he really? I need to recheck because I did not catch. That was one of my.
It's a very subtle appearance. It's a very subtle appearance.
I gave Jim Lee a lot of credit in the previous episode, but I wanted to mention Rob Liefeld was a huge factor too, as part of those big Rockstar comic artists in the '90s. It was Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane was working on Spider-Man. Jim Lee was doing the X-Men, and then Rob Liefeld created characters in New Mutants that then became X-Force. And we'll see. I mean, Deadpool, Domino, Cable, those are all his creations, and they're big stars now. And we'll see them later on in the show too. So I'm excited for that. John.
Yeah.
Getting to rewatch this, what were you think?
Well, one, catching the Deadpool cameo, that again, I had to mention that. I was like, oh wow, How did I not remember that? But also, as I've preached before, I'm a big fan of traditional animation. I love pre-Flash era animation. And like Jason brought up, that big metaphorical brick wall that Sabretooth was hiding behind Xavier for. I mean, you see like the frames per second, how it's transitioning around when he's trying to float around and find his way in there. Like, I miss that so much. Like the errors, the faults, like the textures you get out of like pen to paper. Just the nostalgia, the chills it gives you. I love it, man. Ooh.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like having to animate on 2D paper something that is 3-dimensional and move it around, it's already hard enough to do it with keyframes and all that. As somebody's just walking from left to right, but somebody floating in the air while a cube is shifting, it's pretty complicated animation. So overall, I was super impressed with this opening sequence. I loved it. Here. And the spikes around it, like they really gave the impression that Sabretooth's inner psyche is impenetrable. And then to have these demons attacking him, the fear of being poked at and made fun of as a mutant, and then to have that like weird Sabretooth, it looked like a rug or like the skin of an animal that was on the wall. That was like, to me, I think the representative of that Sabretooth, because he was starting to be vulnerable and scared, and then he retreated into that, and he was again Sabretooth and got away. So
I see.
Yeah, just a really cool sequence. And then Xavier talks about trying to get inside of Sabretooth's mind, and Wolverine hits him with the very hilarious line of, "I'll penetrate his recesses."
So 90s. So I wrote something later, like they have just the weirdest quips. Like ooh, I like what should be cool dialogue, like a hero moment, it just comes out awkward. For example, and we'll talk about this later on in the series, towards the end, Wolverine calls Sabretooth an egg-sucking garbage trash.
Sucking gutter trash.
Gutter trash. It's just such a weird amalgamation of words that like it's a very kid cartoony thing to say. It just so yeah.
I was calling kids that on the playground for at least a couple years. Just egg-sucking gutter trash. Yeah. You got to hit them with that, or else they don't take you seriously unless you hit them with something like that.
Hit them down deep.
Yeah, and then just some quick notes about Sabretooth, because this is a very Sabretooth. Magneto's still in the picture. He's still on the run, on the loose, carving a path to destruction. But real quick, we didn't touch upon Sabretooth too heavily last time, so I do want to just talk about him real quick. Sabretooth was originally introduced in 1977. He was also created by Chris Claremont and John Byrne, that were the famous team that I mentioned, launched all these famous comic book stories like Hellfire Club, Dark Phoenix Saga, gave Magneto his origin story with the Holocaust. However, he did not create Sabretooth originally as a mutant. He was a non-powered serial killer, and he was not originally in the X-Men. So, can y'all guess where Sabretooth may have originally made his debut?
Not as an X-Men, just as a murderer?
He was just a non-powered serial killer.
Oh gosh, this one, I don't even know if a guess. I don't know X-Men well enough to even think of any stories that might be a part of. I'm going to say something tied in with Wolverine. Did he kill Wolverine's family or something like that?
Was he still in the X-Men?
No, it was not. It was created by the same team that was writing X-Men, but for a different comic book altogether.
Oh, a different comic altogether.
Yeah.
What's it, Spawn? No.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
Street level, yeah. He made his debut in Iron Fist.
Iron Fist?
Yeah, he was fighting Iron Fist on
You know
a
what?
snowy
I
mountain.
think I remember this now. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and because of the snow, he's telling Iron Fist that his powers are useless. So it was still Chris Claremont and John Byrne, but they didn't write him for X-Men. So both Wolverine and Sabretooth, who have this famous on-site feud, were not created originally for the X-Men. They've crossed multiple titles to hate each other.
Wow, that's a deep hatred.
Yeah, exactly. And his original name, well, again, with false memories and retcons, it's hard to say what's real and what's not. But the one I'm sticking to is his name is Victor Creed. And one thing that we'll touch upon this later with Storm, but one thing I love, aside from just the mutants being mutants and being hated for that, which is plenty enough to make them interesting, each one has something that sets them apart. And Jason, you and I had kind of talked about this, I think, in the first episode. Mm-hmm. Wolverine's got his lack of memory. Cyclops has the guilt of being a leader. Nightcrawler struggles with his religion, but also looking like a demon, and being hated. So trying to hold on to that. Sabretooth had a lot of abuse with his father. So, the thing always says, like, bullies are bullies because they have bad relationships with their dad. Again, there's something deeper going on there, and that's hinted at in his psychoanalysis. But, pretty cool. And, the voice actor that brings him to life, y'all, this was a wormhole I fell down on that during the break. Get ready. The voice actor for Sabretooth is Don Franks, a.k.a. Iron Buffalo. That was the stage name. Unfortunately, he also passed away in April 2016. So I am curious to see who's going to replace him. Because previously on X-Men, we've only seen Sabretooth growl, like, "Rah!" Mm-hmm. Now he finally speaks. And when he does, I was like, his voice is so cool. So I wanted to get to the bottom of who's this cool guy behind him.
Yeah.
And the reason that Don Franks is named Iron Buffalo is because that's his stage name. So
it's an interesting stage name.
Can you guess what kind of music Iron Buffalo would make?
It's going to be something out of left field. So I'm going to say metal music.
No, I would expect metal music from a Sabretooth voice actor. Because keep in mind...
Coffee House Jazz.
Yes.
No, are you serious?
Yes. It is so wild because he's the lead singer. So it's so wild to listen to his music and hear Sabretooth singing jazz music.
Yes.
I'm going to have to find that. That's interesting. That's really cool.
It's not bad. It's not bad, man. So right here, we're going to insert a graphic of Sabretooth, the jazz musician. Yeah, it's like Duke Silver from Parks and Rec. Like when Sabretooth isn't being a menace to society, he's going into jazz clubs and just, yeah. Don Franks also co-starred with Fred Astaire in a movie called Finian's Rainbow. He was also, we'd mentioned the Magneto voice actor was in La Femme Nikita. Don Franks was also in La Femme Nikita. Oh. He was also in the TV version of Mission Impossible, Wild Wild West. He was in the movie with Keanu Reeves, Johnny Mnemonic. And, guys,
Oh.
there's some controversy here because
Oh.
the story has conflicting versions of it, but Don Franks may have been the original voice actor for Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Really?
Really?
No way.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man.
That's impressive.
Yes.
Holy cow. What
That
a
is-
career.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's so wild of a career too.
And it goes further. His daughter is Bree Summer, who was the main actress in A Different World. There's even a Kanye lyric that he mentions, that's a different world like Bree Summers. I deserve to do these numbers. So she gets shouted out in rap songs. And both him and A Different World was like a famous sitcom in the 90s.
Mhm.
She was the main character. And they both worked together, father and daughter, on Inspector Gadget, where Cree Summer was the voice of Penny.
Really? I used to
Aw,
watch the
how
Inspector
cool.
Gadget show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I love
really
that
cool.
show.
It doesn't stop there, y'all. The Iron Buffalo was awesome. He also voiced Mock in Rock and Roll.
I
Dude.
Yeah,
don't know what that
which
is.
I'm a huge fan of. John and I are both huge fans of, and he
Oh,
did
yeah.
voices in the Heavy Metal, the first movie.
The original?
Yeah, yeah, and he continued to voice Sabretooth in the video games.
Really?
So he really stuck with it. So guy, Iron Buffalo, man, this voice actor, he's
That's
kind of
really
a figure.
cool.
But anyway,
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah. So, what do you guys think? What are your thoughts as to having Sabretooth in this hovering chair while the X-Men discuss his fate?
Okay, I'll go. It's so painfully obvious that Sabretooth is just putting on a ruse. Like, the fact that
Foreshadowing.
no
Oh my
one
goodness.
can see this except for Wolverine, and no one is giving a hoot about what Wolverine is saying about Sabretooth. It's just so like, y'all, come on. You're Professor X. You are the smartest man. You should know what's going on. Like, you should have an inkling of what's going on. And well, I'll probably get into this later. Professor X is so ingrained in that everyone can change. Like, I can break through to anyone and everyone, and we will make a difference. It just blindsides him into the fact that what he's doing is just putting the X-Men into danger, and he's being he's an open book at this. Like, and I think Magneto mentioned, or Sabretooth mentioned this later, but like he's so by the numbers and is so I don't know what word I'm trying to say is, but he doesn't have I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
He's the kind of guy who won't break eggs to make an omelet.
yes, he is a straight arrow through and through. Like, it has to be done this way. There's no other way around it.
Yeah. And John, are you believing Sabretooth? Do you think there's a chance for redemption with this guy?
Like,
Not in this episode.
I mean, how can you believe him? An episode ago, he just busted through a courthouse. 2 episodes ago, he was throwing cars on the news broadcasts. And I even think Wolverine, it might be this. I might be getting these 2 episodes mixed up. But didn't they fight in the previous episode as well? Like, didn't Sabretooth scratch his back, or is that this episode?
He slashes him across the gut in this episode.
In this, okay,
I
is
think
on the ground.
I think that's this episode.
that is this episode. I think you're right.
You're totally right, both of you. This is a very wild attempt. That Sabretooth A, thinks the X-Men can fall for this, and that the X-Men do fall for it. But I think the show did a great job of grounding this by drawing comparisons to Wolverine, which they did in the previous episode. I laughed out loud, though, at a point where Xavier says, "After conquering your own rages, Wolverine," and it cuts to Wolverine, who is literally raging with both claws out and his teeth gritted. And I'm looking at him like, that's not a man who's conquered his rage at all.
I didn't catch that.
But because they let Wolverine be a part of the team, maybe the bar's really low for like conquering your rage. That they're looking at Sabretooth like, he's almost there. He's almost healed.
The application
Compared to
isn't
Wolverine,
very
he's-
hard to get
he's about
into. to the gifted and talented school here at the moment.
Yeah,
They're setting their
yeah.
standards
So
still.
yeah, so while the X-Men are falling for Sabretooth's very convincing ruse, Magneto, they haven't apprehended him yet. He's on the rise, so the X-Men devise a brilliant strategy. And Casillas, can you go ahead and let us know what that brilliant strategy is?
I don't. Oh gosh, it is
I'll give you a
to
hint.
leave Jubilee alone with Sabretooth while everyone else decides, hey, we need to go stop Magneto. Kid, you stay home. We're going out. We'll be back later.
But be
Like
careful.
this. Okay.
Yeah.
If we're to take these, it's been what? If we take these episodes week to week, a new episode every week, it has only been 3 weeks since Jubilee has really kind of figured out she has powers, right?
Yeah,
And has been taken into Xavier's school. Who thought? Professor X. He thought, hey, you know what's a good idea? Let's leave a kid who is still understanding how she fits into the grander scheme of the team, and leave her with this dude who I can't even penetrate his mind. We're gonna leave someone that does fireworks out of their hands, the sole guardian of Sabretooth for the next 4 or 5 hours. Everything's gonna be fine. And don't get me started on the ruse that Sabretooth pulls on Jubilee at the end
We'll
of
get
this.
to that later. We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
So yes, that is yes.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's a great strategy. Let's take all of our heavy hitters out, because Magneto is very dangerous. Sabretooth is he's a hurt soul. He needs healing. Which makes me, I have a bone to pick with Jared, because Jared, I'm going to just, every Gambit question I have, I'm going to say, this goes to Jared, where is Gambit? What is he doing?
He isn't in this episode, is he?
Wasn't in the last one either.
He wasn't. Plot armor. That's all this is. It's just
So,
he's not here.
Jared is the Gambit representative. I'm gonna have to write him a strongly worded letter demanding to know where is Gambit. There was a lot of fight scenes between Gambit and Sabretooth in the 90s. I'd see artwork or stuff like that. It looked like it was a cool battle, because you have Gambit as a more agile one, Sabretooth as a bulky monster. But Gambit decided not to show up. My personal theory, he's playing cards with that homegirl from the first episode.
He's on a date.
He went back to the mall. Yeah, he went back to the mall.
Just them trying to put
probably
the
not
mall
wrong.
back of the front of the mall back up. Just construction everywhere.
Yeah, but whatever he's doing, we know he's doing it with style, Petit, with style. And so then we cut to Magneto, who is doing what Jason loves and having a monologue.
An exposition dump. That's
And
one of my
he's
notes.
wondering how his old friend has aged. Perhaps a toupee. Perhaps a toupee, which brings us to my new segment, the toupee game. Ding, 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 ding. What kind of toupee do you think Magneto is picturing Xavier in, and which toupee would you like to see Xavier in? John, we'll start with you.
What he thinks, maybe a classic comb over. What it should be, Bob Marley dreads.
Oh, yes. Inserting all this artwork, by the way. Jason, what kind of toupee do you think Magneto has in his head? And which toupee should it be?
I think it should be. What is? Y'all remember the toupee from Goodfellas? The sleazy salesman has. Oh God!
Yeah, they rip off his head. Yeah.
They rip off his head. And it's just that toupee. What I'm thinking, what he should have. Y'all remember what Dennis Hopper's Bowser looked like in the Mario with the weird looking skin dreads?
This is a terrible movie.
They're like reptilian cornrows.
Yeah, exactly.
Reptilian corner.
exactly.
That should be the toupee that Xavier has. That should be canon somewhere down the road.
Okay, all right, cool. I was expecting Magneto to picture Xavier with the was it the Friar John from Robin Hood, where it's just the monk It's just around the rim.
just
You know?
the sides.
Yeah. But what I want to see is like the Blanca from Street Fighter. You know what I mean? I just want to see
Oh, that'd be
intense
cool.
orange hair.
Like, oh, I should have done I should have done Gohan Super Saiyan level 2. Toupee.
Yes.
I just the Charles Xavier toupee game. I hope it's not the last time we see it. Anyway, dumb thing for Magneto to be thinking about.
Like,
Yeah. And then
I only know one person that doesn't have the use of their legs, but he has a wig. I won't recognize him otherwise.
yeah. He's pulling a fast one on me. Xavier came in disguise. I didn't know it was him.
He was driving a little Hot Wheels car. I couldn't recognize him.
Yeah. Switching out for one of those shopping carts. He's like, oh,
You're not
be
Xavier.
he has hair and he doesn't have a yellow hover wheelchair. And be Xavier.
Oh goodness.
That was awesome.
So then it gets us into I think we all were just slightly disappointed with the fight sequence between the X-Men and Magneto last time.
Mm-hmm.
This time, I think they brought their A game to the table. Jason, what were your thoughts on seeing this kind of battle for the first time?
Oh man, it was really interesting. Of course, Magneto would find a chemical plant and say, "Hey, we're just gonna blow this up." What chemicals were those? And is it safe for the X-Men to be in a burning chemical building while this green goo is just kind of exploding everywhere around them? And then that also brings me to, it was in one of my notes. Why is Cyclops?
It could have turned. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, why is Cyclops just blowing holes in a chemical plant as well? Like, dude, there's a door. Use that. You don't have to blow up every single wall you need to go through.
John, you want to hit him? Do you want to hit him with your famous? It's a 30-minute time slot.
I'll get a buzzer every time I need to say it.
He's already got a catchphrase. I love it.
What about the 30-minute time slot?
Jason, come on. Yeah, John, what did you? I mean, that's a very good point, Jason. They are a little extra, but I think again, Cyclops, he's got a deep fire inside of him that he was too nice the first time. Everyone kind of, dunked on him a little bit, so now he's trying to be a little bit more aggressive and not lose his teammates.
He hasn't found that balance yet.
But even to draw back to Jason's point there, the holes in the wall, there was a huge hole that got blown in the wall that landed on Storm and Rogue. And then he blows up another hole in the wall.
There's like a hole in the ceiling too. Like he can just jump down. They're in a plane this episode. Why not just rappel?
Yeah, valid point. But that does bring me to my next point, which was Rivero's claustrophobia. I'm so happy. This is again how I was talking about how with Sabretooth, it's not just that he's a mutant. There's something to him. With Magneto, it's not just that he's a mutant. He's a Holocaust survivor. With Aurora, Storm, I'd say it's Aurora's claustrophobia because that's who she is. Storm is her, her persona. But Aurora has a claustrophobia and is paralyzed by that. So on top of them just being different, on top of them having these, attributes to set them aside from society, they always have individual struggles as well.
Yeah, I like that.
Separate them. And that's what I was trying to articulate in the first episode when I was talking about what I love about the X-Men team and why all these characters are all so well done. Mm-hmm. They're all interesting because they all, aside from being mutants, have their own individual thing that makes them interesting, at least in my mind, of Hill that they battle with personally.
Yeah. And I did want to mention, that is the first time I've seen Storm have like that kind of claustrophobic fear. Was that ever brought up or touched upon in the films? Because I don't remember seeing that in any of the films. And again, that is all I have been able to go off of. So seeing that for the first time, I was like, oh, that is interesting. I didn't know Storm had that as a part of her character. So yeah, that was new to me.
No, it is.
I don't think it was ever touched in the film.
No, but it is canon in the comics, so it is something that she has. Yeah. And then she's assisted by Rogue, and Rogue tries to wake her up and then goes to help Cyclops. And she wasn't in the previous episode, Enter Magneto, but she does show up big time in this one, trying to do a lot of the heavy lifting in this battle. She ends up thinking that giving Cyclops CPR is a good idea. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Okay. How long have Cyclops and Rogue known each other at this point? We're going to just assume they've known each other for a little while. She even says, what were you going to say?
Long enough to say, hey, I'm so-and-so, these are my powers, which is all you need to know.
So she even says, I know you're not going to like this, but this is the only thing I think can get us back to you to 100%, which she gives, CPR to Cyclops.
Who might have been breathing.
Who might have been up. I mean, it didn't seem like it was.
He might just be unconscious.
It didn't seem like.
Oh God! He did not examine him at all. And
she's just
not a doctor.
You're not. Your eyes aren't open. I need to give you CPR right now.
No. Yeah.
So she does that, right? And then Cyclops wakes up, is like, oh, what happened? And then out of nowhere, you just hear an explosion. And you see Rogue just shooting out energy from her eyes. What I don't understand is, again, this is where my original question came from. How long have Rogue and Cyclops known each other? At least long enough to know that Cyclops can't go anywhere without glasses, and he can't just open his eyes. So, putting those two together, and the fact that they've known each other more than 3 weeks, we're going to imagine at least a year or two at this point. Why can Rogue just close her eyes? Like, she had to go and make it a little bit more dangerous and just, how do I turn these off? And just going in circles. What was the note I had? I think it was, oh shoot. I don't remember where the note is. Oh, how long has she been around Cyclops? She should know that his powers is he can't control the energy coming out of his eyes. So come on now, Rogue.
100%.
Come on.
Which I personally, I loved the visual of what I call Rogue Clops. Because it's just cool to see her knowing that she's strong and vulnerable and can fly, to have also the psychic blast.
It is really cool. Blast. Yeah, but it was just
cool visual.
Yes, there's only 30 minutes. We need more, some more danger for everyone to be in. But I don't know. It was it was goofy. At least to me.
Which brings up 2 points. The first one being that she says, I know Jean's not going to like this. Where is Jean Grey? She's not helping Jubilee babysit the murdery monster.
Yeah.
Like, at least of Gambit, we know he's he might be playing poker somewhere. He might be cruising down some highway in a convertible with Jared in the passenger seat. We don't know. But with Jean Grey, she's kept at base. She doesn't go on the field missions. She stays home. Why is she not helping out? Or continuing the therapy with Xavier? Like or with Sabretooth at Xavier guideline.
Yeah.
Jean Grey, MIA. Maybe her and Gambit have a thing going on too. Because they weren't in the last episode. They weren't in this one. A little behind the scenes. Sneaky.
What I would love is for people to chime in to these questions, that submit your answer. What do you think these individuals were doing at this time?
Yeah.
And then hopefully we can get an answer from the producers.
Yeah. What could be more important than defeating your number one nemesis who's trying to launch nuclear missiles at the world, and also having a very murdery assassin inside your base with your new recruit? I'm sure whatever it was is very important. My second question is, what are Cyclops' eyelids made out of?
I'm going to hope it's skin, but
we can't assume.
We can't assume one way. They've never actually dived into that in any of the films I've seen. What are those sunglasses then?
Are they reinforced by like adamantium?
Oh God, those are so heavy.
I think with the sunglasses and the visor, it's the ruby quartz. It's the color of it that diffuses his power.
The energy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The energy, but his optic blast can punch holes through walls, can decapitate sentinels,
can push people,
and all he does is close his eyes and they quit. What is happening? Like how his eyelids not just blasted off anytime he closes his eyes? I don't know. So viewers, love to hear your thoughts. I don't know.
Yes,
What do you guys think?
I would love to hear those theories.
I was gonna say maybe there's some sort of shut off whenever he shuts his eyes, mixtured with some sort of
Like his retinas
ruby
just like
visor
get cut.
inside his skin cells that shut off the tapetum lucidum, maybe refracting the light or absorbing the light in his eye. Again, the biochemistry of it all makes my head spin, but
Well,
you gotta think of something here, guys.
We only got 30 minutes. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
We only got 30 minutes.
it's only got 30 minutes. You had a pretty good idea with Magneto last episode with the synapses being disrupted. So I wanted to pass it back to Dr. John here.
Dr. John here, the bio
If you
major.
knew the bio major, what was going on there?
We're still in the blueprint stages here, but we should have something developing within the amount of time slot of 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the second episode in a row, the X-Men, now with the help of Rogue, completely get their butts kicked. They are
Yes, they
officially
do.
0-2 against Magneto, and if you count the unsuccessful Sentinel mission, they've only
not batting
defeated the
good.
Sentinels in the first episode.
Yeah, they're batting 1 out of 3 so far. 1 out of 3. It's not a good.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not looking good for.
Not a good resume builder.
They think they
Yeah,
need
it's
some
like
more training in the danger room.
Because you could argue they win the first encounter with the Sentinels, they lose the second encounter at the mutant
Get
registration agency.
One person killed and one person in jail.
That's definitely an L. Then they win the third encounter with the Sentinels and the mutant agency. So technically they're 2 and 3, right? Because
Okay.
they've lost one to the Sentinels, or one to the mutant agency, 2 to Magneto, and they won the Maul encounter and then the revenge mission. Either way, that's not a winning record. I don't know why, as a kid, I thought this game was so cool. They've done more losing so far than winning.
It's all the action set pieces.
Yeah. So the X-Men have to pull out the big guns, and Charles Xavier appears disappointingly in no toupee.
It's like, damn, such wasted potential.
Yeah. So what did you think of this moment, Jason? Because now we get to see a little bit of Magneto's psyche, and this part lines up with what you knew about Magneto from the movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think both have really good points on what they want to accomplish. Their perspective and their motives to get to that is, all comes down to whatever happened to Magneto when he was a child. Having Professor X, and this is a question I had too, because in the movies, at least in the Matthew Vaughn movies, the helmet that Magneto wears, I thought that's to protect him from Professor X from getting inside his head. But in the show, Professor X just straight up throws PTSD at Magneto. He just straight up, I'm going to traumatize you so I can get my guys out of here. So it was like, dang, Professor X, you bring in that PTSD train to really throw him off. Like, he went all in on that. But yeah, that is one of the questions I had. I thought that thing was to help Magneto keep Professor X out. But I guess that is not that in this series, or if that is something that is retconned for the movies, or whatever it might be. But that was pretty heavy hidden stuff. And like, again, we just see glimpses of what happened to Magneto as a child. Like, there's a European village somewhere, and I think there's an explosion. I don't remember exactly, but we're getting little bits of it so far.
Yeah. I as far as I remember, and I didn't research this, I thought the same thing you did. I was like, isn't that supposed to protect him? John, do you remember anything like that?
All right. Now I remember from the movies that it was developed to, again, protect
Keep
his mind
Xavier out,
from
right?
Xavier. Yeah, but unless he just tried really hard to penetrate that helmet skin. I can't remember everything off from the original comic, like development wise, but
I can't
just
remember.
let it be, I guess.
Because there's no way the telepathic like beams or wavelengths could like go under and then up, right?
I don't think that's how physics works, but who knows?
Well, let's explore that. Go ahead.
or through his eyes that are exposed in his brain.
And it would be magnified if it went in. Hey, all right.
It would have been funny if they did that, but everything was just upside down because they went through his eyes, because everything we see is projected back to us right
that's
side
how
up.
Superman takes out like his worst beings. He does like a lobotomy, focusing his beams through the retina to like saw around in there. So hey, maybe there's something going on here. I'm gonna tap out now.
Clearly, we know like Professor X is like a top dog here. It's just like he went hard, quick.
Yeah, he's
like
the alpha.
0 to 100, like out of nowhere. It's like, no, I'm pacifist. Oh, no, I'm not.
1 second he's a handicapped guy crawling on the floor away from the big baddie, and he turns around and just
mind blasts him,
like we said.
Yeah.
Relive your worst experiences. And Magneto runs away. He's triggered, obviously, who wouldn't be, and he runs away crying. Magneto defeated, but I'll still say the X-Men took the L on that. Xavier is the one leaving with the W.
The building now has 9 more holes in it.
And then it's up to Rogue just carrying a passed out Cyclops and Storm, even though Cyclops got up and said, "Oh, what happened? I think I'm okay." And then he just passed out again. And Rogue saying, "I can't see, Rogue. Let my mind be your eyes." And just, I just thought I just thought it was kind of goofy.
Yeah, he gets back in his chair pretty easily, though.
Yeah,
like
I guess that's a good thing. Right
yeah, and then so Magneto's been stopped for now, which then leads us back to the X Mansion, where I'm sure Sabretooth is being very cooperative with a young Jubilee.
Oh, gosh. So one of my notes. Sabretooth is such a bad liar. Don't fall for it, Jubilee. Is like, oh my gosh. This is, for the sake of plot to move it forward, it's just like, we're going to make you so naive. So you can't do wrong. You promise me you're not going to hurt, or you're going to be good. And just... I don't know. I was annoyed.
You can't just break a promise, Jason. You can't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say much. I was like, it was annoying. I hate it when characters are dumb for the sake of story, just to move it forward. Like, I feel like, again, I think this was one of my notes. But doesn't Jubilee see Sabretooth the very first episode when like Sabretooth is on the television throwing cars around? Like, doesn't she recognize
it's the arcade, right?
Yeah.
It was right before the arcade, before she runs. Yeah.
In the second episode, she walks into the room and it's on the screens. Yeah.
Yeah. So
when she's sneaking around the mansion.
She sees Sabretooth causing havoc and is like, "I'm going to trust you because you promised me."
Yeah. Well, he suffered a very serious wrist injury. And Dr. John, can you go ahead and let us know the extent of that wrist injury?
Let's just open up these shackles real quick.
Yeah. There was nothing wrong with his wrist at all. There's no lacerations, no bleeding. She's like, "Yeah, your wrist does look pretty bad." I'm like, what?
From what? Like,
absolutely nothing.
Oh, my goodness.
Instead of just like pulling his hand forward and like, or
just seeing the wrist, because it's not like the shackles covered his entire arm, right? It's just maybe right here. It's like, oh, my wrist is right here. You can see it.
Yeah.
Again,
gotta free him.
We gotta make sure. We gotta go to the infirmary. Oh no, I'm in a chokehold, but you promised me. Let me go, and I won't. Yeah. Oh. And then, okay.
And who comes to the rescue?
No one. No, Wolverine. But before that, Cyclops, Storm, Rogue, and Professor X coming back from battle, right? Let's just get a cup of Joe. let's just open up our coffee cabinet and drink some coffee and say, "Good work, team." Don't you think Professor X would have felt or would be able to sense something's going on? Like, this is happening at the exact same time, And it's only until Wolverine, being the untrusting Wolverine that he is of Sabretooth, to come save Jubilee. Otherwise, I think Jubilee would have been donezo.
So Wolverine actually does intervene first, delivers the famous line, egg-sucking piece of gutter trash. So him and Sabretooth are fighting in the war room. They are brawling, and the X-Men that have returned,
yes,
Cyclops, Rogue, and Storm, and Xavier could probably hear thrashing happening in the war room, but decide, you know what? I need a hot cocoa. And there's only two of them, so Storm and Cyclops decide to have one and leave Rogue completely out of it. I don't
didn't even
understand
offer.
it. Yeah, I was very concerned about that as well. And also Xavier, he's just sitting in the chair. Like, you're not going to give the handicap guy, who saved the day, by the way. You're not going to let me have a victory hot cocoa? You guys...
Yeah,
the two who got knocked out.
Yeah, why do they deserve drinks?
The two who got knocked out get the hot cocoa. Yeah, and they decided the hot cocoa was more important than checking in on the new recruit babysitting the murdery monster. So,
and even then, when they do eventually get there, like, Professor X still tells Wolverine, don't do it. Like, dude, you see them fighting, and because of you, Wolverine is now hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I don't like, is like in shows when you clearly see something happening because of something, and you still say, no, this is the better way. This is a high ground.
And Jubilee even says, no, Sabretooth attacked me.
Yeah.
Wolverine's in the right.
It's so weird. But that does, okay, so Wolverine tosses Sabretooth out the door. Great. There's another broken wall in the mansion now. Because of you.
It's Jubilee.
Oh, it was
Jubilee hit him with fireworks power.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Because Sabretooth was got Wolverine already. But
yeah, so Wolverine's standing there and gets his ribs slashed and is knocked out, and then Jubilee furiously explodes Sabretooth out of the wall, and he just gets up and runs away.
And because of US, because of the first episode, because of what you sent me for that video, I cannot think of Sabretooth as having feet. He has hooves. He has hooves.
He has sock feet.
He hooved away, yeah.
In a skin suit.
But great.
And what?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, like, she tosses him out of the building, and I'm under the belief that this is like a subterranean base, armor-plated, lead-lined, whatever. It turns out it's just on the first floor of the mansion.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, you know what? You would think that their infirmary is below ground.
You would think.
It's just in the main entrance. Yeah.
So something bothered me about that scene, and I couldn't. I was like, something about him going out the wall is not hitting me right. That's it. You're totally right. Because the war room has got the top levels should all be the academy. All the war room, all that stuff's got to be underground. So yeah, that's a continuity error there. Well, I don't know, but yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And then you just see they don't even go after Sabretooth. Like, have y'all seen that? He's from He-Man, the Skeletor meme, where it's like he's just running away. Like, he says something and just you see him running backwards. That's what I thought of this. It was just very goofy. They didn't even attempt to, like, I understand Wolverine's hurt. And there's still 5 or 4 other people that could have gone and chased Sabretooth to get him back.
Yeah, the whole building with the people that could have gone.
There's probably some lady named Janet, driving her kids to school in her Volvo in upstate New York, and here comes Naked Man running down the street. She's got to shield her kid eyes from that. What kind of Sabretooth is all kind of terror.
Oh goodness, he doesn't have feet. Are those hooves?
Yeah. Who's that naked hooved man?
It's such a disturbing image, right?
Yeah, but like, that was all, and I put this in my notes, that is all Professor X's fault. Like, all of that ending was because he didn't trust Wolverine. He stopped Wolverine, and he left Jubilee with Sabretooth. It's all on Professor X.
Do you think he was distracted by his singular focus on Magneto? He's making bad calls.
I honestly, I didn't think about that
so,
at the
yeah.
time, but I do feel like canon-wise, the writers
Still
room, they're
jaded
like,
from the battle, so he couldn't
yeah,
concentrate.
the writers like, we're not going to say it, but this is the meaning or reason behind. I feel like that could be a good reason for that.
Yeah, it definitely leaves room. And one thing I love is that we see Wolverine get slashed only in the ribs, but while he's laying in the bed in the infirmary, he's got bandages all over his body, and he's got a healing factor. So
I was about to say, he has a healing factor too.
if he suffered minor scratches during the fight, you'd think those would heal by the time they got him to the infirmary.
Yeah.
He is covered in bandages.
True.
Yeah.
Hey, you plot armor. It's all for the plot and move the plot forward. Wolverine is.
We only got. Yeah.
I mean,
we only have 30 minutes, y'all.
Yeah, you think having his skin being sliced open each and every time he brings out his claws, a couple of scratches on his side wouldn't be that bad. Especially an adamantium skeleton that I assume can take a lot more than a normal skeleton body could.
Yeah.
So we thought. No.
I'm thinking the original thought was Sabretooth cut a lot deeper and Wolverine bled out a lot, but because it's a kid show, you can't show that much blood. They just kind of had to be like, all right, you got beat up. You got banged up.
That makes sense. I can see that as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that wraps up this episode. The deadly reunions didn't go so well for Wolverine, and it didn't go so well for Xavier either. So that's the other reunion, right? Is Xavier and Magneto. They finally come face to face. So let me ask you this. Who has the more on-site rivalry? Is it Xavier and Magneto, or is it Wolverine and Sabretooth?
It's Wolverine.
Which reunion is deadlier?
For me, it's Wolverine and Sabretooth. And it's going to come into play in a later episode. I think that, but it is totally that. Like, Wolverine has had a seated hatred for Sabretooth since seeing him, like, last episode. Just a seated, like, I'm going to kill you. Kind of, oh, you're a bad guy. I'm gonna kill you. Hatred towards Sabretooth. Magneto and Xavier is like, I can change you. No, you can't. This is the right way. Like, that dynamic is interesting in itself. But Wolverine and Sabretooth, there is something more primal about that hatred.
Yeah. Each one's convinced that they can turn the other, right? Like, Magneto thinks he can finally make it make sense to Xavier. Yeah. Xavier believes that Magneto, there's still good in him from their old friendship.
Yeah.
And if it ever came down to it, Magneto or Xavier at the end, both of them would, find justification to, like, saving one another versus if it was the end of the world, Wolverine versus Sabretooth. Get in there, you.
Yeah. One of them's going to cut the other's head off. Like, they just, it's pretty feral. But any final thoughts for either of you?
I am going to start counting from here on out how many times Magneto talks to himself. Because the last thing
the Magneto monologues?
Magneto monologues. Because the last note I have is, oh great, another Magneto solo speech. So I'm going to keep track of this from now on. Yeah. So we're up to, this is like our third, right? Third or fourth? No, fourth. I'm going to go, okay, so.
Well, third episode, fourth one that we're covering.
Yeah.
Final thought. Who has the better tingly sense? Is it Xavier or Peter Parker? And I think it's probably been discussed before. I think I remember like some sort of trail on this, like in media before. But as of right now, I forget who was judged to have the stronger sense.
It's not Professor X, because he can't figure out that Jubilee is fighting with Sabretooth literally in the main entrance from what we've gathered so far. Like, maybe they're in the kitchen. I'm saying Peter Parker.
Yeah, he gets Xavier gets caught off guard an awful lot, duped,
if you will, his face. Duped, if you will,
duped, if you will. He gets overpowered psychically a lot. I'm gonna go with Peter Parker with the tingles, the Peter tingles.
Peter tingles, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I appreciate both of y'all for being here and for discussing one of my favorite things on the planet. And viewers, I appreciate y'all for sticking it through with us. We'll be back. Same X time, same X channel.
All right.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.